I've heard so much, and I know I'm new, but I don't understand why we need to move forward on something that's flawed, and why we wouldn't correct it at the committee level before bringing a flawed document to the floor of the House. To me, that does not seem the way the process is supposed to have worked. But again, I understand that I don't have the number of years that you all do. You know, I always tell the young people of the Virgin Islands that I sit on two committees, one that is the most partisan, Oversight and Government Reform, and another that is the most bipartisan, the Agriculture Committee. I think I'm going to have to change that speech that I give to young people when I'm back home. And to my Democratic colleagues who are complaining about not being in the process, I just have to tell you all, welcome to my world, when the Republicans came in majority and took the ability of delegates from the territories to vote in committee on the whole on the floor. So you guys are just feeling what I've been feeling for a long time now. But what I want to say is that we may have a bill before us that the majority purports to be net neutral to the baseline, but it's not net neutral to working families. It contains deep cuts on working American families, including the least fortunate among us, the least of these. It would not be a policy that would be pro-work, because for a family that faces a wage increase or is offered more hours, this would tip them over and roll them off of food assistance. This is what this bill is intended to do. And it goes completely against the safety net, the hand up that the Farm Bill has always stood for. So in that respect, I guess we should move the bill forward, because it does do exactly what it's supposed to do. And it's done with us making that decision. And it would appear that the Democrats are, you know, we're discussing this because we want the world to know that it's flawed, but it would appear that many on this committee do not feel that that's the case. Everyone embraces the goal of work. I don't believe that any member of this committee does not want people to work. Work is the best way to get yourself out of poverty. But the ramp and the supports that are there to help people actually move out of poverty will not be there, or is even weaker under this bill. The present program since the mid-1980s has had work requirements. States and territories can impose up to 30-hour-per-week work requirements for those who fall under the category of people that would be subject to work. And if you refuse, you are already terminated off the program. It also has the 3-month time limit on unemployed adults without children who aren't working 20 hours per week. That's been in place for more than 20 years since the 1996 Farm Act. So the suggestion that the program doesn't have enough work orientation, I think, is false. Work is very important to people who care about poverty and who care about hunger. We're starting from a place of a very work-oriented program. But under this bill, for all of those folks who are participating in the program between 18 through 59, those who are parents of kids age 6 or higher, their state would be required to create a training slot for them that they would be required to participate in if they were not working 20 hours per week. If they are unable to do this, or the state is unable to approve adequate capacity, they would be terminated from being able to participate in the program. Now, I see families all the time, the working poor. Not far from my office is a place, a food bank, where working parents go to eat their lunch because they don't have enough money. They make sure that their kids eat breakfast and eat lunch at school, because the one meal that that family is going to have comes from the food stamps that we give for working families. Many of those people, along with millions of others across this country, are going to be cut off. When you're dealing with children, childcare becomes a big issue for women. We know there will be far more childcare and transportation costs, and that means the states will have to pay half of them. There are questions that this bill has raised that we have not answered. And I think the answer is that we're not supposed to answer it, because those answers were already looked at, contemplated, and resolved somewhere that we just didn't participate in, a closed door of the majority committee. So the idea that this Farm Bill is something that is going to help America's working families, the poor, those who need to be fed, it would appear that those of us who are, when this bill comes to the floor, we're just going to have to decide where we stand. At least I can vote in this committee, and in this committee, my vote will be no. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Mr. Heller for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I am disappointed. Disappointed in the broken process that got us here to this markup. disappointed that this committee has been pushed away from its bipartisan legacy. Mr. Chairman, we ask time and time again to open up the process and allow this transparency to members and the public.